Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and thank you for joining me again on today's very interesting program. I hope that you guys enjoyed last week's episode where we were discussing about the role of parents, about how they should bring them up in an Islamic environment. And I hope that you had a great time and you benefited a lot of lessons from our very humbled guests, the couple that we had last week, and inshallah they'll be joining us again today to continue our discussion on the role of parenting. Without much further ado, I would like to welcome them once again on Youth Matters with me. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Brother Nader and Sister Fatima, for really taking out your precious time and for joining me on my program. And last week's program was so beautiful, so amazing, so inspiring. You know, it's always good to hear real life stories from, raw parents. So I think that I could really resonate so much with you, and I'm sure that so many parents out there can as well agree on this and can resonate with the both of you. Now, in today's discussion, we will be specifically delving more into how the media, the social media, and the TV, how do these things have an influence on children, and what can be done, right? So I will again start off with Brother Nader. Brother Nader, how can we teach our kids to be able to decipher between what's wrong and right? For example, the television and the media. So we can see today that the TV is, 99% sinful, dissolute, and it has a lot of stuff which is like related to immorality, and there's a lot of unlawful sinning that's going on. And it is possible, though, that 1% of it shows things that some people benefit from, but the predominant case is to be given consideration. Now, you see, there are kids, and they don't know what's good and what's bad. And so how can we, as parents, take up that charge and that responsibility in these circumstances?
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for having us again. So,
it's a pleasure.
First off, I mean, it's important to just mention a little point about the fitra. Every human being is created with this essence or this nature within them. The word fitra doesn't really have an appropriate English translation, but it's this, I guess, this thing within us, right? That I guess it tells us, or worshipping Allah, yes, or worshipping any God comes very natural to us. When we actually look deep within ourselves, we'll notice that we have the same values. We know what is right and we know what is wrong. It might manifest itself in different ways, but fundamentally it's the same. Like, for example, if you ask an atheist, is justice good or bad? He'll say justice is good. Say, is stealing good or bad? Stealing is bad, right? Is like, we might have different concepts of what justice is, but the fundamental idea of justice we completely believe in, regardless of our beliefs, right? So when it comes to teaching our children what is right and wrong, we already have something to go with over here, right? They already know, without knowing, that they worship something. In fact, one scholar actually said that they recognize God through their parents, because when you are completely dependent on your parent, right, as a child, I mean, that parent, in a sense, is God, because that parent provides, that parent gives, you know, that parent takes, right? All these things. So, you know, a child does have this, you know, this nature within them to worship, to do what is right, and to not do what is wrong, right? In fact, even when you look at children, they want to copy us in the beginning, you know. Imam Sajjad has this, Imam Sajjad or Imam Sadiq, he has a beautiful saying where he says, "Inna al-muhibba liman yuhib muti'." In the lover is always obedient to the beloved, right? And this is an example, right? So how do we actually teach our children what is right and what is wrong? I mean, from our experience, I would say the most important thing is keeping an open line of communication. Communication is extremely important, even at a very young age. Now, to encourage communication, there's a way we must communicate with our children, even at that young age. We often have one of the things that we don't do right, like we learned this, and you know, it really helped us with our kids, is that, you know, when you want your child to do something, and when you don't want your child to do something, don't order them. You know, there is a way of giving an order, and it's by not ordering. What do I mean over here? Like, one of the things you can do here is you can say, okay, listen, you have to go to bed at this time, right? So you can either eat your dinner and then go to bed, or you can go straight to bed. What do you want to do? They'll say, I'll eat my dinner and go to bed. You know, they will come up, they'll come to the conclusion themselves. You give them choices, you give them the right to choose, and you nurture their ability to choose, right? And you give them the freedom to act on their choices. Like, for example, if you want your child to clean their room, right? What do?
Right.
You know, one of the things you can do is, listen, before you go to bed, right? You have the choice. You can either keep your room clean and it will smell really nice and look really beautiful, and when you go to bed, you'll be really happy and you'll have a really nice feeling inside. Or you can keep it dirty. You can leave your pajamas over there, and you can leave all your toys over there, right? And you can go to bed and you'll sleep in a very smelly, yucky room. And you know, you give them this time limit that before you go to bed, right? And they'll be like, you know, often they'll say, I'll clean my room, you know, I'll clean my room, or they won't necessarily do it immediately, but they will do it, you see? So one of the ways in teaching them right or wrong is by giving them the choice or the right to make the right choices. But if you constantly tell them, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this, eventually they're going to be like, okay, it's come to a point where I'm faced with a decision over here and I don't know how to assess whether this is right or wrong, right? So, I mean,
it has happened with a lot of us too. Like, as we have grown up, I'm not saying us specifically, but in general, our parents, they would tell us, do this, do that. And we know how much we would rebel from all that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So, we need to, like, one of the things I learned in my studies is that, you know, if you look, there are actually 3 types of parenting. You have the really lenient way, where the parents, you know, they just let their child do whatever they want. And if their child makes a demand, because the parent doesn't have the patience to actually deal with the tantrum that might ensue, they'll say, okay, do what you want, right? You know, I mean, I had classmates, right, who basically they could do whatever on earth they wanted. They could go, and I went to an international school, so not everyone there was Muslim. And in fact, religion was completely irrelevant when it came to how we were educated. And, like their parents would drink and drive. They themselves would get into certain habits. They would steal alcohol from their parents, I guess, cupboard or stash or whatever it was, right? And their parents would just be like, I don't like it when you do that. Don't do that again. They don't actually say you've been drinking. That's really bad for you or whatever, right? So that's one type of parenting. The second type is the really military, strict style where the parent keeps a close eye on everything that child does, right? Both styles over here, the lenient kind, those kids will often grow up feeling entitled, that everything belongs to them, everything is for them, and that'll obviously affect their social interactions as well. They might look down on others, they might become extremely narcissistic, everything is right. At the same time, the military parent, he will not give the child room to make their choices. So what will happen is that child will grow up feeling extremely intimidated in social situations. They won't willingly take responsibility upon themselves because they'll constantly have this at the back of their mind. What if I mess up? What if I mess up? What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail? Those things happen. But now Islam, both of these, right? It says you should be firm, right? But you should also be loving, right? So you teach them the morals that are necessary for them to learn, but at the same time, you teach them in a loving manner, right? You don't criticize them. You criticize the action. You say, for example, Muhammad, what you did there was not right. It made me feel really sad. It's not right what you did. Look what happened. You did this little, and then your friend got hurt, and now she doesn't want to come home, or he doesn't want to come home, and you won't be able to play with each other, right? Or, for example, the other side, you say, wow, you did a really good job. Well done. High five, like that. And they will, and if you constantly reward the good action and, you do your best to ignore as much as you can the bad deed, right?
This is for the younger kids, right?
For the younger kids. But, eventually what happens is, they will feel encouraged to do good, and they'll realize that it's not worth doing something bad. So you couple this idea with, being a person who constantly cares about what Allah thinks, to constantly refer to what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, right? What has he said about this? What has Imam Sadiq said about this? What has Imam Sajjad said about this, right? What did this scholar say about this? Constantly referring to these people, and the children see us, look at them as role models, right? And it's just like, okay, my father is my protector. My father is the strongest man in the world, but when he's in front of Allah, he is weak and he's submissive, and he constantly thanks Allah for everything that he's been given, so I should be thankful to Allah too, because Allah gave me my baba, Allah gave me my mother, so I mean, to summarize, often the best way to teach a child right from wrong is to do it indirectly, but to do it in a very loving manner, and to have these ideas embedded in your actions, so that it forms itself in the child's subconscious. A lot of times children don't see what we do like apparently. What they do, they sometimes catch it very quickly what the motivation was behind the action. They can read between the lines, without even knowing that they're doing so. So if you do good with that, right, then yeah.
She also asked a question about the TV today.
Yes. Okay, so with regards to TV, thank you for reminding me.
It's okay.
There's so much to talk about.
Yes. No, that's okay. We have enough time. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. So when it comes to TV, when it comes to screen time, I mean, honestly, that's the $10 million question. It's a very difficult one. And it's difficult for us as well, because not watching TV requires us to be patient, and patience is very difficult to have. If every moment of spare time where the child is not doing anything, has nothing to do, right? There's always this idea that TV, that screen time can solve my problems. If your child constantly goes, Baba, 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 Mommy, 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 eventually, like mom is cooking, Baba is studying, it's really, really difficult, right? But you just have to find it for yourself to get to take them out of that environment where they're, where screens are not available. Like, for example, what we do is we take our children to the park. We have a lot of picnics. We make sure we have a good circle of friends where the kids are the same age, where the parents think alike, and the kids play and they fight and they do whatever they want, but at least they're not watching the screen.
Like-minded parents,
exactly. Another thing is that, okay, when it comes to screen time, we have like two approaches. You have one group of people who will say that screen time is bad and we should not use it, right? So let's say they don't have a TV in the house. They don't have the latest smartphone. They're not always on their phone. This idea has its pros and cons. The pros is that that the child doesn't grow up with social media and smartphones and tablets and Netflix in front of them, right?
Yes.
They don't grow up being naturally available. Okay.
Yes.
And because of that, they don't really think about it. It's not the first thing they think about, right? That's the first. Right. That's the pro. Then the con, one might argue, is that okay, this world is governed by technology, and there will come a point where you as parents will not be there, right? And because you won't be there, they will be faced with choices with regards to technology, and they will be so overwhelmed that they might fall into something that you don't want them to fall into, right? They won't necessarily be able to use technology responsibly. They might go and start watching porn. Excuse me, but that's what might happen, right? Or inappropriate movies, right?
True. Yeah.
So that's one idea. The other one is like, okay, listen, screen time, technology, these things are a reality, an unfortunate reality in today's day and age, and because of that, we need to teach them how to manage these things. Now, the pro over here is, okay, you might encourage responsible use of these things, right? But at the same time, if parents themselves are addicted to these things, then that addiction will naturally pass on to the child. So it's a very, very difficult decision to make. They both have their pros and cons. One of the things I wanted to mention with regards to the second idea is that, okay, even if you're going to, even if these things are going to be available to them, it's extremely important as parents that we control the usage. Controlling usage is very important, and to do it in a very smart, diplomatic, political way, right? One of the things one can do, a very simple idea, is take the TV, instead of making it the center of the living room, right?
Yeah.
Put it in the corner. you know.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Or
it doesn't revolve around.
Yeah.
We don't revolve around that TV.
Life doesn't go around the TV. Or for example, when we eat, the TV, the phones are not on the table. Put them somewhere and put them in a room, and we don't hear the vibrations, even if they're on silent mode, etc., 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 etc. Right? So basically, what I'm trying to say here, I know I've been speaking a lot, is that somehow we need to bring this idea to them that social media, that these things are realities of our lives, but they're not really important, right? The importance comes with regards to how we use them. Do we use it for the sake of Allah, or do we use it because it's fun, it's just entertaining? You see? So, I mean, it depends on how you look at it, and I'm sorry I haven't given a direct answer. But
I want to add something to this, if you guys don't mind.
Yes, sure, Fatima, go ahead.
As a mother, quite honestly, it is really hard not to give your child screen time. And let's be very honest. It's a way to escape all the tantrums, all the crying. And a lot of moms and dads come to us and they ask us this, that, what do we do? Our child doesn't eat. Only when we put up the screen is when our child will eat. Or, our child does not stop crying until we actually put a rhyme on. These things have come up because of the condition or the way you have put your child in it. Like, what I'm trying to say is, because the first ever time you let your child watch something when they cried, now they know, if I cry, I'll get the screen.
Yeah.
Or if I just tell her I don't want to eat right now, she'll give me the screen and then I'll eat. And we're human beings. We all love entertainment. Kids want entertainment. And
it's an age of entertainment.
Yes, an age of entertainment. And with the busy world, like to get to what you were saying, you're a working mom or you're a busy mom. Sometimes you just can't be there with your child all the time. The generation has changed. Everything has changed. Moms and dads both are expected to work. Or for example, for me, I sit in the house now, and it's difficult for me to juggle the two, or it's difficult for you to juggle the two. What do you do then? The alternatives are screen times and stuff like that. And it's easy for us to just say that, just don't give the screen, use the following things. But it's very difficult when it's going into practical life.
Yeah.
So then as parents, you need to work hand in hand together and see, what is our goal? What do we want from this? What is good and what is bad from this? And so, for example, like you mentioned, you've put your little girl in a preschool. You've checked the environment. You've done all the right things to make sure your child is in the right environment, and you're getting that attention. Your child is getting that attention. It's unfortunately that's how the world is right now. But at the same time, when you come home with your child, then you give that child undivided attention. Or for example, yes, you are giving your child screen time. So what do is we watch most of the cartoons. It's really boring sometimes. Sometimes it's like, why am I watching this? But it's so important for us to watch everything before our child watches it. So we have checked that there's nothing wrong. And there was a day we actually put something on from our childhood completely. Back then, we wouldn't even realize that this is how we were brainwashed. For example, let's say Tom and Jerry. Simple, like everyone loves Tom and Jerry. When we watched it this time with our daughter, without checking, not just violence, the kind of double meaning, the vulgarness, how Tom and Jerry always trying to this girl, I think it's a cat as well, and he's always trying to impress her. These little things, where did we get things from? The fact that a man, you need to please a man, or try to get a boyfriend. These things come in slowly through these little things, or hitting and shouting and bad language and all. And we realized this after we were watching it with her. We're like, okay, this is not okay. We need to stop, So looking through, going through the stuff that you want your child to watch. It may look completely simple, but I'm telling you, social media, these people behind all these movies and cartoons and even rhymes, they have something. I'm telling you, do not take them with a sweet eye. You know that it's just cartoons.
That they have our children's best interest at heart.
No, they don't.
We shouldn't trust them.
Yeah, you were saying something?
No, I
was saying Kissa Kids is really good.
Yeah, so we did a lot of research and kids, yes, because they don't just go with just the Islamic. And I completely disagree with the idea that Islam is separate from the secular. It's all one. Islam is a way of life, and they bring that in, you know, the values, the way they do it. They do it in a very creative manner where kids love it. Like my Amina, she always waits for us to put Kissa Kids and Amir the puppet. So yeah, it's something that they wait for then.
Charlie and Lola is also really good.
Yeah, some people may disagree.
Really? You don't like Charlie and Lola?
So I believe, I just make it very clear, I believe that screen times and social media can be a tool. Use it as a tool. You see? Don't just give it away like that. Use it as a tool. Like right now, we're using this social media platform to speak about good things. Yeah? So it is beneficial if you use it the right way. And it is very harmful and dangerous if you use it the wrong way. And a lot of times we move to the wrong side without realizing our kids going to the wrong side because we are not accepting of these things. So if we close our kids down and say, no, you can't watch screen, when they go to their friends' houses or their cousins or anyone, they might be introduced to these things. So we have to prepare them for both. But use it as a tool. My thing to all moms and dads, I always tell them, use it as a tool.
So
that's it.
You know, Fatima, I'm so much going to agree with you on this point. This is exactly what happened with me as well. I never focused on nursery rhymes and all of that before. And it was just after, you know, my daughter started watching. And, you know, when I started concentrating on the lyrics, I was also shocked. And I don't know if you've seen my earlier episodes. I did a talk with my sister on this where we analyzed these nursery rhymes and what sinister backstories they had. And I was just like amazed that I have been singing those nursery rhymes like from childhood. And we didn't even know, you know, we're just merrily singing. And, you know, now our kids are doing that. But you see, the fact that, you know, we've come to realize, I think we're making so much improvements as parents of today. Like, you know, we're very conscious, very particular. You know, we are doing our best in giving up the best upbringing to our children. So, you know, taking these small steps makes a huge difference a long way. If, you know, we start now, then, you know, as we move ahead, you know, I think that, you know, our kids will definitely become very good, inshallah. Now, my question to you, Fatima, is that yes, sure, go ahead.
So what are you actually, like, these are our worries over here in Qum, and I guess, I don't know if we're completely in touch with what it's like on the other side.
Currently,
yeah. But, you know, just for our reference, what is it that you guys over there are worried about on your side?
Okay, so is it in terms of like the environment or the upbringing?
The child's upbringing with regards to like the surroundings and environment around her, like around your daughter, including like social media and Western influence, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I would say the same thing again, that of course social media is everywhere. You know, it's very difficult for children not to see social media. For example, I'm someone who uses WhatsApp on a daily basis. I use Instagram. So, you know, my child also sees automatically that, you know, I'm using these things. And, you know, she comes, you know, to see what's going on in my phone. And, you know, sometimes I get surprised myself, you know, the way she sits and holds up the phone and, you know, it's like a small adult, literally. And, you know, I tell my husband that, oh my God, she's just one and this is the situation now. What's going to happen in the future? So I get worried. I do. It's something which is very normal. And I'm sure other mothers as well would agree with me on this. You see, the way Brother Nader mentioned and the way you mentioned, Fatima, very clearly, it's all about balance, right? So we need to control the social media usage. So that's the least that I can do. And what I do instead is, because I've noticed that, my Nargis is very curious. She's very inquisitive. She's more like a sports person. So I try to distract her mind into such activities. So I would put like a swimming pool for her so she can, have her time. And, I got these small books for her. So even though I know she can't read or write, but she can relate. For example, if it's an apple, she tries to mimic the vowels. So I realized that children nowadays are so much smarter. We should not underestimate them. They are, the way you said, their minds are like sponges, and they can absorb literally everywhere just by observation. And that's what I've been seeing, that my daughter is literally like, she literally mimics us, in what we do, in our actions at home. I remember I was I give also art lessons to some of my students. I give Quran lessons to some of my students. And she really enjoys playing with crayons and coloring around and all of that, holding the crayon with a good grip and all of that. So I think they really learn so much also from screen time. I wouldn't deny, when there's this nursery rhyme of 1 2 3 or ABC, they're listening to it. And they are already taking that in, the way you said in one of the nasheeds, Salamun Alaikum, that's how your daughter got it. I've noticed that my daughter also has, takes a lot of things. So yeah, social media definitely has a huge impact on children. And we will just, I think the least I can do from my side is to monitor her usage. So when she would throw a tantrum or something like that, I would try to distract her. Not that I'm saying a no to her. I don't want to become that sort of a parent who goes like, no, you can't be using the phone right now and this and that. No, I give her something else so that she gets distracted. So I would gently take the phone away, and I would give her something else in return, like probably, a toy, or, something that can distract her. And I think that's worked very nicely on my side so far. I can't say much, of course, because as I will grow with my child, I'll understand her better, and I will grow as a parent myself. But I think we can use some of these strategies. Now, I would like to know from you that how do you think environment, can affect a child's behavior and mentality? I think both of you can have a say on this.
You want to go first?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, environment plays a huge role in the child's upbringing. Like, I don't think
Yes.
anyone will tell you otherwise. I mean, regardless of what their approach is, whether they're Muslim or non-Muslim, whether they're educated or uneducated, whether they're child psychologists or shuyukh, they would all agree. It's like,
Yeah.
it's a no-brainer.
Yes.
And today, environment is playing an increasingly larger role, because the environment is not just outside; it's trying to get inside. It's trying to undermine the parental role. There are so many competitors for our children, for our children's attention. Parents are. It was very obvious back in the day, maybe, that parents were the primary influence in a child's life, but I mean, today one could argue that no, it isn't. That's on one hand, but coming to Kum, I would say that yes, the environment is big. The role it plays is bigger than we actually think. One of the things here is, I constantly tell Fatima this, that on the day of Ashura, it's not just a certain segment of the population that is wearing black; it's the entire population. On the billboards, you don't see like
Coke advertisement.
A Coke advertisement, or someone, I guess, advertising underwear. You know what I mean? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not over here. Over here, they,
Yeah.
On buildings you'll see salawat written, or Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Or in some of the buildings, you'll see a mural of a scholar or of a shaheed. I mean, there's a really beautiful mural where we used to live previously. Imam Khomeini was just like this, right?
Yes.
And it's beautiful. And then you have like the haram. Whenever we want our child to run around, right, we take them to the haram. They play right in front of Bibi Masuma. It's amazing. She has a connection. Our children have a connection with Bibi Masuma that we could only dream to have at that age. But now, on the other hand, if we were to take our children over there, outside of Qum, outside of Qum, not outside of Iran, outside of Qum, right, it would be completely different. There was this, I don't know if he was a doctor or something. I saw a quote on Instagram where he says it's a shame to think, I can't remember exactly, but basically he says that Muslims should not think that they will be able to influence the system, and move it towards a more Islamic environment. In fact, Muslims who move to Western countries, maybe they will grow up Muslims. Their children will grow up Muslims by name, and their grandchildren will not be Muslims at all. It makes a huge difference. Environment is such a huge difference. Over here, religion is an active influence. It's not just the mosque. It's not just the azan from a minaret. It's not just this thing you do in your room or you do in a very confined space. You see, but even Dar, right, where I'm from Dar Salam, right?
Yeah.
Religion is in its own specific place. It is not allowed to go outside. We're not allowed to talk religion as openly as we like, right? Religion is irrelevant. When you look outside Qum, religion is irrelevant. Religion is confined to Saturday and Sunday. It's confined to 5 times a day. It's confined to Saturday and Sunday. It has no influence in your school, right? Islam has nothing to say about math. Islam has nothing to say about science. Islam has nothing to say about literature. When in fact, Islam has a lot to say about all these things, including art, right? So definitely the environment plays a huge, huge, huge role. And like, to the extent where we have ahkam that say that if one is afraid that they will be misguided in this place, in this locale, then it is wajib for them to move, for them to go somewhere else.
I think you've really, summarized it very well. You've really put it out well. And I also agree with you on this, Brother Nadir, because it's true, you worry about the upbringing of your children. Which route will they take? Be it a daughter or a son. I think it works equally for both in today's era. And for daughters, we worry more, right? That where will they settle in the future, and that we pray they go into good households and all of that. So yes, I think Qom is such a beautiful place. You have Bibi Masuma Qom's shrine right there, and in Mashhad you have Imam Ali Rada is just a couple of hours drive away, or something like that. And I think these are very beautiful things that can be instilled in the hearts of, children. When children are raised in such environments, there's just a different spiritual feel to it. We as adults, like, who've not lived in Qom, when we go for ziyaras, right, for these short temporary visits to Aba Abdullah's shrine, and Bibi Zainab Salamullahi alayha's shrine, and Imam Ali's shrine, we feel different. And we feel a change in our ruh, in our soul. And when we come back, we become different people. So imagine when you are actually staying in such a spiritual environment, definitely, there's a lot that changes on its own. And, there's a lot of purity, a lot of innocence, and, a lot really. I think that, yes, it really helps. It plays a huge factor in the upbringing of children. I think that you really summarized it very well, Brother Nader. Brother Nader, sorry. And Fatima, would you like to add something? Yes?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to add something, and I'm sorry I cut you. I wanted to mention this. You know how you mentioned that the haram of, because we have Qum and we have the haram of Bimasma and all this. A lot of people still can't relate to that, because what are we going to leave everything back home and come here?
Yeah.
Does every single person have the opportunity to come here?
Yeah.
No. And a lot of people, I know so many parents who've left their jobs, their education, their everything, and they've moved here to Qum with their children just so that they can give them a few years of this Islamic lifestyle, so that the children are strong in their roots. And then when they take them back to the world, I'm not saying Qum is not part of the world, it's very much part of the world. We have a lot of challenges here as well. But when they go back to the more critical world, the more the world ready, and their roots are strong, and pull them back to the main goal of their lives. And so, I know parents who take that sacrifice for their children, and hats off to those parents, because honestly, it's not a joke to leave everything and come to live in a place where you don't have a job, you don't have anything, but you're doing it for your child. And a lot of people do mention this, that, what is child upbringing? Why is it so important?
Yeah.
There's so many things in the world that we have to focus on. Ahsanti, there are lots of things in the world to focus on. And I'm not saying that to belittle any other topic, but child upbringing is so important, because today you as an adult, me as an adult, him as an adult, or Imam Khomeini as an adult, or Imam Hussein as our Imam, it is the child upbringing or the way they were raised that has brought them to what they are today, or what we look at them as, So it's so important. Child upbringing is the core to a good human being. When we see these problems in the world where, a young boy goes and kills Muslim men and women, or he goes and attacks people, or all these violence that happens, where is it coming from? It's coming from their environment, the way they have been brought up. They have been brought up with these, maybe intentionally or unintentionally. Okay, these things are fine. I also wanted to mention one more thing, is that, so for parents and people who are back in other countries, like in New York, your flights,
yes.
And you just walk in, it's all about I'm just gonna use different names like Kim Kardashian or Beyonce. All these people just at your face with their thing and just everything. Okay, how do you bring environment for your that understand Islam and make it part of their lives? That Islam is the way of Islam, is not something you do in a mosque or in a room. And for me, I really thought about this, and so I was just quickly saying that when we have our kids go to school for half the day, and then they come home, and then like in school they constantly hear stuff like God is irrelevant, or or that they teach you things, or they say things that Islam does not accept. And then you go home, and then your mom or your dad is telling you pray your namaz, do this, do that. And then once a week, you have madrasa, where now you want to learn about your religion, answer all your questions. And unfortunately, the truth is that the madrasa systems in some places are not very good. How many madrasas actually train their teachers to give the right kind of education, the right kind of information? How many teachers are actually trained enough to answer those questions? How many teachers are trained or are checked, their backgrounds are checked, that, where is this person from? What are their beliefs? Does this person even fully believe in God? How does this person dress up? If a teacher is not dressed the right way, how do you expect the teacher to teach the child that, hijab, hijab, hijab? So, how many madrasas have you seen actually give scholarships to students? Why is scholarships and these things so important in the secular but not in the Islamic? Why don't we invest on our Islamic education, Islamic lifestyle? This is why our children don't get their answers, and then when they're grown enough, they look for their answers, they find them on Netflix, they find them in movies, they find them with wrong friends, they find them in school, especially if you're in an international school, then your life is over in a way, because the influence just attacks you from all corners. So poor child is stuck in the middle, confused, doesn't know, is there really a God? And then when someone actually comes and gives them the answer, and if it's not the right answer, you've lost that child from the right direction. So I just wanted to mention this, that it's so important that even if you're not in an Islamic environment physically, like Qum or Najaf or, these beautiful places, you can build that environment. And I like to always focus on homeschooling. Homeschooling is not about you teaching your child at home. Homeschooling is an idea of multiple parents having a similar idea, coming together and teaching their child.
According to a curriculum.
Follow a curriculum. Look for the right teachers that you know about. Bring them to you.
Yes, very good.
Let them go on. These days in the West, a child is forced to learn about homosexuality. It's part of the curriculum. I don't want my child to learn about it just the way the school doesn't want our children to learn about religion in there. There's a rule. I don't want my child to learn about this, and I have my reasons. You need to respect that. How can you force that on someone? It's a school full of thousands of children, but you can bring it together in your own environment, you see? And they do get a lot of social life through it, because you're bringing a few children together. So yeah, this is just my little bit on the question that you asked.
Thank you. Fatima, I really loved your point. You really, when you speak very practically, and that's what I really appreciate. I actually I salute your bravery and courage. Mothers don't have this much of courage coming up on a public platform and speaking about such topics. And, the fact that you and brother Nader did this, I'm so thankful to you. I appreciate. And I may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your family. You guys are doing a great job, and I hope that many parents can take lessons from you, inspiring lessons, and we all can follow in the footsteps of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim assalam at the end of the day, because that is what our main goal is all about. So thank you for sharing these beautiful points, and thank you for coming on my show. Jazakallahu khairan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, viewers. I hope that you enjoyed today's session. As you had seen, we discussed very practical points that we can utilize in our lives when it comes to raising children. And this topic doesn't just go for parents who are probably in their 40s or 50s, or couples who are in their old age. It goes for everybody, be it young, be it middle-aged couples. And because, especially as I said earlier, that this this program is targeted for the youth audience, so that's why we wanted to highlight these issues, because nowadays so many youngsters are becoming parents, and they are falling into that phase. And so what needs to be really done? and Brother Nader and Sister Fatima really enlightened us on today's topic. I personally got to learn so much from them, and I hope that you guys got to learn the same from them. And I hope that we can benefit so much more from this. Let us all contemplate, let us all ponder and reflect on what we are doing on a daily basis. And we will improve ourselves like this eventually, and we will evolve into good human beings at the end of the day. Thank you very much for joining me on Youth Matters. I hope that you enjoyed today's program. Inshallah, we'll be bringing to you another very interesting episodes such as these in the coming weeks. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.